My name is Miles Windsor. I work for an organization called the Religious Freedom Institute, and I also have the privilege of serving as strategic advisor to Ambassador Robert Sheikh. I would like first to acknowledge and thank the Czech government for hosting this important conversation and for their investment in this concern. Děkuji. Thank you. In the troubled times that we're witnessing, marked by division and hatred, there is no more important conversation than one with a mission of building peace and countering extremism. It's a conversation that must move beyond words to plans and actions. But given the caliber of the people in the room and those who will be addressing us and addressing the issues at play, there can be some hope that this time we spend together today will contribute in some way to the goal that we seek. In the book of Romans, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." In the Quran, Surah Furqan, Ayat 33 wa 60, it is written, "And the servants of the Most Merciful are those who walk upon the earth humbly. And when the ignorant address them harshly, they say peace." I am pleased to introduce speakers who embody this vision of peace-seeking, this peace-building ethic. I have the great honor to welcome the first of our speakers, Mr. Eduard Hulicius, representing our hosts, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs for the Czech government. Mr. Hulicius has a prodigious knowledge of Europe and its institutions, a knowledge not only from the academy with master's degrees in international politics and in European studies, but also from first-hand experience working with members of the European Parliament and in the cabinet of the Vice President of the European Commission. Mr. Hulicius is one of the most active deputy ministers on matters of religion and interfaith dialogue. Please welcome him to the lectern.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, honored guests, it's a great privilege to stand before you today at the opening of this important conference. And on behalf of the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you who have gathered here from various parts of the world. Your presence here reflects a shared commitment to a common goal, promoting understanding, respect and cooperation across the rich tapestry of beliefs and cultures that define our global society. Today, our gathering comes at a time of pressing need. At least since the onset of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, almost 1,000 days ago, the world has seen an unsettling rise in large-scale conflicts, with repercussions going beyond only national borders. Both in Europe and the Middle East, instability has opened the door to radical ideologies, feeding discrimination and fanning the flames of hostility. These crises remind us that peace and stability are delicate and that they require our joint action and steadfast commitment. Events in the recent months, fueled by racism, Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, have only underscored the urgency of the mission expressed here. Such incidents reveal fractures and divisions within our societies that cannot be ignored. They also remind us of the power and the responsibility we all share in creating pathways towards reconciliation and mutual respect. It's vital that we, you, leaders, diplomats, policymakers, civil society advocates, and faith leaders address these divides with empathy, resilience, and unwavering dedication for peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the goals of this conference are clear and essential. First, you have gathered to explore the concept of freedom of religion or belief as a cornerstone for peace. This freedom, fundamental to all our societies, helps us counteract radical ideologies, strengthen tolerance, and cultivate a climate of respect. By advancing these ideals, we aim to dismantle barriers, reduce prejudice, and create space for constructive, open-hearted dialogue. Second, you are here to confront the reality of prejudices and discrimination. We are here not only to address the root causes, but also to identify practical, effective strategies for reducing and ultimately ending the harmful practices of hatred and prejudice. This can happen only through inclusive policies, community engagement, and educational initiatives. This can help to build a society where every individual, regardless of belief, feels respected, safe, and valued. These are easy words to say and very difficult actions to uptake, and I believe you will be discussing this as well. Lastly, this conference seeks to underscore the power of intercultural and interfaith dialogue in building peace and fostering reconciliation. As the Americans used to say, "Jaw means no war. We should remind not just them, but ourselves very often. Dialogue does more than exchange words. Through dialogues, we should recognize our shared values, things that unite us, that bind us, and appreciate the differences, the things that don't unite and divide us, but differences that make our societies vibrant and resilient. In times of crisis or polycrisis that we are living since few years, these connections are essential to support solidarity and resilience. Our response to the challenge of the crisis must be informed by respect and empathy, by our general commitment to find common ground. I will also quote a Czech author, Milan Kundera, but don't worry, not in Czech. Milan Kundera reflected, "The struggle of man against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting." So, ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget that our diverse cultures and beliefs are a source of strength, not division. Thank you all for being here, for coming to Prague, or as we in Prague tend to say, heart of Europe. I look forward to following your discussions and collaborative efforts that will follow, and I wish you success in their execution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Our next speaker is one of the leading lights in the Middle East and North Africa region, promoting peace and tolerance amongst religious communities and spreading that message of peace throughout the world. His family name is synonymous with peace and interfaith harmony. The son of Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayyah, the preeminent authority on Islamic legal philosophy and a powerful voice, teaching the illegitimacy of violent extremism in Islam. His Excellency Sheikh Mahfoudh bin Bayyah is a dynamic, remarkable leader in his position as the Secretary General of the Abu Dhabi Forum for Peace. For over 20 years, he has also served under the United Arab Emirates Minister of Foreign Affairs. A seasoned diplomat, Sheikh Mahfoudh has been instrumental in establishing the Forum's flagship programs, including the Marrakesh Declaration, the New Alliance of Virtue, and the Charter for Inclusive Citizenship in Arab countries. In the aftermath of 9/11, Sheikh Mahfoudh joined the first group of religious leaders to meet President Bush at the White House, after which he participated in several international training programs and conferences focused on countering violent extremism. He also played a pivotal role in the formative years of the establishment of Zaytuna College, the first accredited Muslim liberal arts college in the US. Please welcome His Excellency Sheikh Mahfoudh bin Bayyah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Your Excellency, my friend and Honorable Ambassador Robert Rehan, for inviting me. Thank you, friends and the seekers of peace. I thank you again for inviting me to come to this beautiful city, and I'm praying it's going to be more often to come here to thank Lawfire about opportunities for peace instead of justifying for wars and unjust ones. In the United Arab Emirates, our narrative in peace is not merely a goal we aspire to. It's the natural state in which humans should live. Based on this firm, the religion are not merely a spiritual system, but is an effective force aimed to establish the foundation of mercy and justice. I think we're all here today as prisoners of hope. A prisoner of hope, it's when you have a bad day and you're looking for better day. Is that a hope? When we heard people talking about they're always trying to connect the haters to religion, the foundation and the taxes of religion, it's calling for peace, coexistence, and building care about your neighbors. All of this, we just are reminders. We're not controllers. So God told us in the Quran, you are a reminder to the prophets. So the religion, they should protect their religion to be abused and used for bad goals. And we can talk about stories. In 1999, when I came to Don't Lose Hope, to California, I was in Silicon Valley. And that was the end of 1999 when the people talking about the problem of Y2K and the possibility of all those nuclear bombs, to explode. So a lot of my friends, they said, okay, we're going to the secret land. Some of them, they went to Jerusalem, some went to Medina and Mecca. And I just came. So I can't leave California. I have no hope to leave. But I have hope to stay and nothing can happen. So that's what happened. I stayed, and 24 years later, I'm here speaking, and still alive. So a few months ago, people start talking about nuclear war. And they said the Americans, they have 60,000 missiles, and the Russians, they have 60,000 missiles, and they might go to war. So I was putting my son to sleep and talking to him about the possibility, and we watched a document talking about this. And he said, Dad, so this maybe is gonna happen, so why I need to go to school? I said to him, well, that is exactly, you need to be a prisoner of hope. So we have nothing except hope. But in United Arab Emirates, we're working hard. In the region, we have our own revolution in the concept of peace and coexistence. We're not just saying it as a words, but we're practicing it. Our leaders, the founder father, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, he founded that country in coexistence and respect for minorities, for what they believe in or what they don't believe in, to live freely in that country. And his sons, they're following his steps. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed always reminding us, seeking peace is not a job. Seeking peace, it's a mission from cradle to the grave. So you have to understand, seeking peace is not a job, it's obligation. Seeking peace, as those they have the right to speak freely in the public about what they believe in as a religion, we have right to speak in it. So please, let's all work together from this beautiful city, and let we have constantly meetings here to be away from problems and to think how to unite our voices I will ask you something to think about it. I didn't prepare well for this speech, but Islamophobia, it has to be with the hate of Arabs. Because I have a friend, he's a Christian from Lebanon, and he's been abused and beaten up somewhere in Europe because he's just Arab. So it's not about Islam, it's about even Arabs. So in America now, when they have the declaration about the document of Islamophobia, they added the White House declare and Arab hates. So please try to add that to whatever declaration is going to come out from here. And thank you again for inviting me. And our call to meet in a common world among religion based on a shared belief in the dignity of a human and the right to live in peace. Thank you very much.
Ms. Mariah Mercer has served as Deputy to the Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom and Deputy Director of the Office of International Religious Freedom at the U.S. State Department since 2021. She has 20 years of experience in communications and human rights. Previous roles in the office have included Unit Chief for Near East Affairs, Unit Chief for East Asia Pacific, Deputy Coordinator for the Ministerial to Advance Religious Freedom, and Senior Advisor for Atrocity Prevention. We are fortunate and delighted to have Ms. Mercer in the Ambassador's stead. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Miles. Good morning. It was an honor to be with you here today, and a huge level of thanks to Ambassador Sheikh and his team for organizing this, and for the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs for taking this issue quite seriously and bringing us all together to contemplate how we can do more and do more effectively. As Miles indicated, my office leads our nation's efforts to promote international religious freedom or belief all around the world. U.S. efforts to advance international religious freedom are firmly rooted in this knowledge. Countries that effectively safeguard this and other human rights are more peaceful, stable, and prosperous, and they're more reliable partners than those who do not. Nations can never achieve their fullest potential when some are excluded from education, healthcare, jobs, and other essentials on account of their innermost beliefs or how they choose to manifest those beliefs. Monitoring and combating anti-Muslim hatred and Islamophobia are crucial parts of our work. We do this by first documenting cases of violence and discrimination against Muslims around the world in our annual International Religious Freedom Report. We speak out publicly about the violations that we see. We speak up for victims and survivors. We condemn persecution or discrimination against Muslims when we see it. And we engage other governments on how to better protect the rights of Muslims and all individuals around the world. We also work with and seek to empower civil society to address the drivers of these issues. We see examples of anti-Muslim hatred and Islamophobia all across the globe. For example, in Afghanistan, the Taliban has tortured and forcibly evicted Hazara Shia Muslims, as well as banned Shia religious teachings in schools and forcibly prevented Shia Muslims from carrying out their religious rituals. In the People's Republic of China, where the government is committing crimes against humanity and genocide against predominantly Muslim Uyghurs, laws label the free exercise of religion as extremism. It bans long beards, full face coverings, and religious dress. Just last week, an arson attack against the Imam Reza Mosque in Auckland, New Zealand, fortunately had all survived, but it evoked the terrible memories of the horrific shootings in Christchurch in 2019. In the United States, we've also seen acts of violence and hate directed against Muslims. Last month, a man brutally attacked a 7-year-old girl and her grandmother wearing a hijab in a park outside of Detroit, seemingly targeted for their Muslim faith. But the seeds of this violence are sown in the day-to-day discrimination, hatred, and persecution Muslims also face. Across Europe, there's been a significant rise in the amount of hate speech and violence targeted against Muslim and Arab individuals. Just last month, the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights found in its latest report that 1 in 2 Muslims in the EU face racism and discrimination in their daily life. This is a sharp rise since 2016. And the number of reported incidents around the world has risen significantly since Hamas's horrific attack against Israel on October 7, 2023, and in the wake of the devastating human suffering in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, and Israel that we have all witnessed to this day. Those events have fueled a frightening increase in Islamophobia and anti-Semitic incidents. But let's be clear that these frequently connected forms of hatred were widespread and deeply concerning long before last year. These challenges demand sustained commitment from all of us who are unwilling to accept hatred and intolerance as a status quo. We have to find more effective ways to fight back, to challenge repressive laws and policies, to build coalitions across religious and ethnic divides, to combat discrimination and demand rights, and to promote shared values of human dignity, mutual respect, and peace. With that in mind, the United States has been working on a national strategy to combat Islamophobia and hatred against Arabs. This national strategy is not just a whole-of-government effort, it's a whole-of-society effort. One of the aims is to create lasting and meaningful relationships between government agencies and law enforcement and religious organizations, civil society partners, and local community leaders. We are also working with others in the Article 18 Alliance and beyond to capture efforts across the globe in an action plan focused on 8 key areas and ways to collectively combat Islamophobia and other forms of hatred. These include building collaborative networks and mechanisms to identify tension, outreach training, discussing and addressing root causes of discrimination, speaking out on this issue, criminalizing incitement to imminent violence, education to combat negative stereotyping, and open debate and interfaith dialogue. It's our duty and our responsibility as leaders and members of our communities to stand up in the face of such challenges and to work for solutions. And that's exactly what we're doing here today with the Intercultural and Interfaith Dialogue Conference. The panelists that we'll hear from today are bridge builders and problem solvers. They will share incredible insights on how anti-Muslim hatred infringes on the right to freedom of religion or belief. They recognize that the consequences of policies and actions born of this hatred stunt the development of safe, inclusive, and equitable societies, and I look forward to hearing their thoughts and ideas. We have to come together to build a more peaceful and just world free of Islamophobia. Thank you.
Thank you. To save the seconds, I'll introduce from here and cut back my introductions. There is much I would love to say to commend our next speaker to you all, this remarkable lady, Ms. Nadine Menza. Suffice to say, she is the president of the Earth Secretariat, an international organization focused on building the infrastructure to support the religious freedom movement globally. She also serves as a global fellow at the Wilson Center. Ms. Menza served 2 terms as a commissioner in the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USIF, including 1 term as chair. She serves as chair of the board of directors for the Institute for Global Engagement and is on the board of the Sinjar Academy and Freedom Research Foundation. Ms. Menza.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the generous introduction, and good morning, and thank you all for joining us. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, and thank you, of course, to the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the warm welcome, and a special thank you to Ambassador Robert Rehak for hosting us today, and also for the incredible leadership as chair of the Article 18 Alliance. What he's been able to do is create an environment where government officials and civil society can work collaboratively together, and we're stronger working together, so thank you for that. And I know I speak for our chairman, Greg Mitchell, the entire Earth Secretariat team, as well as our co-conveners in giving you our gratitude. And we are also privileged to work closely at our Secretariat with our own government, and we're so glad to have Mariah Mercer here, and thank you for always being a phone call away on the many topics that we work together on. If you've been paying any attention, you know that those of us from the U.S. had kind of an newsworthy week, and it's been very interesting. But fortunately, religious freedom is bipartisan, and we have strong bipartisan support for the work that we're doing. We work closely, as you've heard, with Ambassador Rashad Hussain, who's been a terrific partner and the entire office. And we also worked closely with Ambassador Sam Brown back beforehand. And remember, the last Trump administration brought us the Article 18 Alliance, then called the International Religious Freedom or Belief Alliance. I can finally say it. And also 2 ministerials. So, of course, we look forward to working with the new administration as well. And I did want to put the marker down of being those prisoners of hope that we are. As we begin our day together, I wanted to briefly share my experience having just returned from Northeast Syria just a few weeks ago. I was honored to be able to speak at a special event commemorating the 7-year anniversary of the liberation of Raqqa from ISIS. Raqqa used to be the headquarters of the ISIS caliphate, but now is the headquarters of an autonomous government that has among the best religious freedom conditions in the region. And during this visit, I was able to meet with tribal leaders, government officials, women's groups, various religious communities, and all of them I was asking about how conditions are. Is there extremism rising? Do they have fears? What's going on if they meet somebody that is against their religion? And what I found consistently was extremism is continuing to decline there, despite being in a civil war, declining economic conditions, continued attacks from their neighbors. ISIS is still a threat, but it's from outside their community, not coming in from inside like it was before. I also learned during this visit that they don't have an office or a ministry that deals with fighting extremism. Instead, it's integrated in every level of government for the 3.5 million people that they govern. What is their secret? It's radical inclusiveness. They have been very deliberate in building an inclusive society where everyone has a seat at the table. They overrepresent minorities, both ethnic and religious minorities, with half the leaders being women. They hold regular public meetings on various subjects where every person who attends has the opportunity to use the microphone. They have multiple economic co-ops where anyone can join and be able to make a living. You know, one thing we've learned at the IRF Secretariat with the roundtables we have in over 30 countries and all the partners we work with on the ground is that every country, every society has different circumstances, different challenges, and ultimately a different journey. But there are some best practices and much we can learn from each other. So as I look at the speakers and the panel and the panelists we have for this excellent program today, I have no doubt we will all leave with new insight from those of you doing the hard work of fighting radicalism, fighting hatred, and working to build long-term peace and stability. So thanks again for joining, and I'm really excited to learn from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. Our final speaker for this session is a highly distinguished academic who's been serving as the director of the Institute of International Relations here in Prague since May last year. Dr. Braun is dedicated in his research to the topics of regional integration in the European Union, global environmental politics, and Central and Eastern Europe. Please welcome Dr. Braun to speak for us.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, Deputy Minister, thank you all very much for coming to this conference this morning. I would also like to express, on behalf of my institute, the Institute of International Relations, Prague, my gratitude to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the great cooperation on this event, in particular, Mr. Ambassador Rashad. This is a conference on intercultural, interfaith dialogue. And it's, of course, of crucial importance to stress the word dialogue in a time characterized by increased polarization, conflicts between states, but also within states. The title of the conference speaks about dialogue as a way to counter Islamophobia and radical ideologies. I would like to mention one more term, which is a crucial obstacle to dialogue in our times, and that is that of populism. Populism is not always linked to radical ideologies. Within political science, we often speak of the concept centrist populism, that is, populism without radicalism. Is then this kind of populism a problem for dialogue? My key point here, before we will continue with the remaining 3 panels of this conference, is that populism is an obstacle, even if it's centrist, to the concept of dialogue. And populism is not an attribute of a few people. It's very easy to get the impression when you follow news coverage that it's about getting a few bad guys out of office in different places in the world. But populism is rather a strategy of gaining power by dividing societies. And what makes it problematic for dialogue is that populism is an attempt to speak on behalf of a general people, what is referred to as a we, as a small group of the general people, against the other, often described as a corrupt elite, but can as well, and often include then, religious minorities, other minorities in society. And for that reason, populism, in whichever shape it comes, also the centrist populism, tends to be anti-pluralist. And that is why it is a challenge and a difficulty for us if we want to promote the concept of dialogue. This was my brief remark for today. Again, thank you all for coming to this. I look forward very much to listening to the many distinguished speakers we have in the 3 different panels of today's conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Braun. We'll move promptly to our next session, how FORB can help overcome radical ideologies. But first, please once more give a round of applause for our speakers.